Welcome to Open BxRx Tuesday on BronxNet. I'm your host, Kibin Alleyne, and I'd like to invite you to get social with us at BronxNet TV on Instagram and Twitter, and BronxNet Community Television on Facebook. Gas prices around the country are hitting an all-time high. In some states, gasoline prices have surpassed $4 a gallon, nearing a national record. Joining me to discuss the cause of this and to share some tips on how you can save is Senior Manager of Public Affairs for the American Automobile Association, Robert Sinclair Jr. Robert, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So, can you tell me a little bit about your organization, the American Association of Automobiles, commonly known as AAA?
Commonly known as AAA. In fact, our legal name now is AAA because
Oh,
everybody
okay.
got tired of saying the long
The
thing.
long
Yeah.
name.
Yeah. So, well, we're most famous for our emergency road service. You break down, we come pick you up. But AAA, in fact, this month is celebrating 120 years of existence. And we started as a motorist advocacy organization back in 1902. And there weren't a whole lot of roads back then, and the people that had cars, admittedly, they were very rich. So they formed the American Automobile Association to lobby for roads, to get some of the anti-motorist laws off the books. You had to change your license plate to go across state lines. And so we started as an organization to help motorists. And as more and more motorists came on the road, particularly with the advent of the Model T and it's proliferating, I think that was starting in 1907, our organization grew. Our emergency road service, in fact, didn't start until 1923. And then we started getting into all sorts of things. We started doing pioneering safety research, the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety in the 1940s. AAA was the premier racing sanctioning body for a long time in this country. There's a movie called The Crowd Roars about Indy 500 racing with Clark Gable, and you look in the background, you see all the AAA signs. It's because we were the oversight organization for racing. We also did the Bonneville Salt Flats racing. We did just any kind of racing you could think of. And then in the 1950s, a guy by the name of Bill France came around with the idea of racing cars that were essentially stock. And we said, see you later. And he went off and started something known as NASCAR. And we kind of blew it on that one. And then the Southern California Timing Association came over and took over for the Bonneville Salt Flats time trials. And then United States Auto Club took over Indy racing. So by the mid 1950s, roughly, we got out of racing, but we were still into helping drivers. Drivers said that when they took their road trips, they wanted to be able to book hotels, those sort of things. So we started a travel agency. We have gone on today where we are a major financial company where we provide auto loans, student loans, home loans. We provide insurance. We have something called the AAA Approved Auto Repair Network because our members have told us that the worst part of the vehicle ownership experience is the purchase and the repair. So we started Approved Auto Repair to make sure you got a shop that you could trust that will fix your vehicle. And we also have the AAA Auto Buying Program so that when you go to the dealer that's affiliated with us, you'll get no haggle upfront pricing and you won't have to deal with that stressor that a lot of people are dealing with. So we are a multifaceted organization. We have nearly 63 million members now. It's the second largest membership organization in the country. Only the Catholic Church is larger. And we have a lot of members and different levels of membership and different things that we can do for our members. And we're in the United States and Canada. And in Canada, we're called the CAA, the Canadian Automobile
Makes
Association.
sense.
So,
Uh huh.
yeah, that's who we are.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I'm
Sure.
sure you know lately we've been hearing a lot of people concerned about the increased price of gas. Can you tell me a little bit about that timeline? Like, what were prices like before this, and how much of an increase are we seeing?
Well, consider that back in, well, let's go back to 2021, let's say. I like to go back then because gasoline price, the cheapest gasoline in New York City for 2021 was January 1st, 2021. After that, for the entire year, prices mostly went up. The normal cycle in gasoline prices that they go up in the spring, they peak in the summer, June, July, August, and they start to fall in the fall. Well, that was not the case last year because we were coming out of COVID, the lockdowns and restrictions were being lifted, and people were getting out and doing things and driving more, and that led to more demand, and that led to prices going up. So we started off this year at a high level. In fact, the lowest price so far this year was January 17th, and then we just kept going higher and higher. Part of the problem that we saw even toward the end of last year and the beginning of this year was OPEC plus, those oil producing nations around the world, plus extra nations outside of OPEC, like Russia, like Angola, like Nigeria, like Venezuela. They have had a tough time being able to keep up with the growing global demand. The whole world is coming out of the COVID doldrums. And so they have been having a tough time keeping up with all this expanding demand, because you have to remember that oil production, gasoline production was cut severely in 2020 as a
Right.
response to COVID and people not doing anything. The price of crude oil actually went negative, minus $36 a barrel, I think it was, on April 20th, 2020. So you have all these people got laid off from their jobs, truck drivers got laid off from their jobs, and now we're coming back and those people aren't there, and we can't get all these things going fast enough to deal with all the extra demand. So with all that extra demand and the scarcity of supply, it's high school economics. You've got demand and not enough supply, price goes up. So that's what we're dealing with now. On top of that, you have the rumors, the fear tax, it's called, where just the threat of something that might interrupt supplies leads to the price of crude oil going up, and with it, the price of gasoline. And there were rumors long before Russia invaded Ukraine that they might. And so that led to political instability. Oil traders don't like that, sent the price higher. In addition, a lot of folks are anticipating that we're going to be doing more driving. We're coming out of COVID. So those looking to make money on crude oil futures invested billions and billions into crude oil and sending the price higher. So you've got all these different factors leading into the increased price of crude oil and with it gasoline. For the most part, there was no interruption of supply. It's only since last week when the United States has decided not to import Russian crude oil, and we import very little, 209,000 barrels out of the 9.5 million barrels that we produce daily. So that was insignificant, but it's just this fear tax, the idea
Hmm.
that something might interrupt supplies that leads to instability and higher prices. And that leaves us where we are now. New York City is at $4.50 per gallon as we
Right.
speak. And one thing a lot of people aren't talking about is the price of diesel. We're still seeing supply chain problems, empty shelves. Those shelves will be replenished by a diesel burning truck, and diesel is $5.51 in New York City today. That is the all-time high. And in fact, the price of diesel is at an all-time high for the national average for New York City, for Long Island, for Connecticut, for New Jersey, and just in New Jersey, we're a couple of days away from the all-time high for diesel, which was 5.28. Now it's 5.21. Ooh, a
Wow.
bargain. Yeah, so
A lot
it's
of
tough.
Yes, I want to say that a lot of people have been reacting to this. And if you actually take a look at your screen, we have a tweet from a Twitter user. His name is Broke Boy, who says, I never pay attention to gas prices. What am I going to do? Not get gas? I really want to know what your thoughts are on this statement and how people are reacting to this.
Broke boy must not be so broke, because we came out with a survey recently, and I want to make sure I get this right. 60% of drivers said they would have to make some sort of change in their driving habits if the price of gasoline hit $4 a gallon. We've blown through $4 a gallon. 75% said they would have to make some sort of change if the price hit $5 a gallon. I pray that we don't get to that. But drivers are doing things, younger drivers, 18 to 34, they're carpooling. 29% of them would carpool. Older drivers, 35 and older, would rather combine their errand with their commute, and they're going to spend less. Maybe they won't dine out, and they will delay making a major purchase like a washing machine or TV or something like that. And all drivers, 80% of drivers said they would drive less in response to these higher gasoline prices. And this was a follow-up survey back in March of 2018. We surveyed drivers and asked them what the pain point was for gasoline. And 40% in 2018, in a good economy, said $3 a gallon. $3 a gallon is a fond memory. So having gone through $4 a gallon and approaching $5, there are a lot of folks that are suffering mightily as a result of these higher gasoline prices. They do not have the elasticity in their budgets to deal with fluctuating gasoline prices.
Right.
And it's happening on a lot of different things. We're seeing rents are going up. Inflation is sending the price of food up and higher gasoline up. So there's a lot of pain out there on the part of a lot of Americans.
Well, we have just a little under a minute left. Could you quickly tell us some tips and tricks people can use to find lower gas prices in their area? Something super quick before we go?
Go to the big box stores. They have the cheapest gasoline. The most expensive gasoline is on the highway and on the roads next to the highway. And to save gas, slow down, make sure your tires are properly inflated, and get rid of all that extra stuff that might have in the cargo area. Lighten the load. That helps to improve fuel economy.
Robert, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
We'll be right back with more Open BxRx Tuesday.